Sitting here with Vincent Halliday, and obviously we're doing this interview to get to know you a bit better. You're Sebastian Rothmann's right-hand man. How did you get into boxing?
I've started boxing at a young age, around 15, 16. I also played professional pool back then, started then. I started taking the boxing seriously. I opened my own little fitness gym and I started getting really good in it. Went to Colin Nathan, sparred there. I went to Charles Backhouse. I went everywhere and started, and next thing you know, I'm starting putting good rounds on these guys. And I realized I can actually be good in it. Started amateur fights. I only had 8 amateurs fights, won all of them. Went to white collar boxing. Back then they put me on the main card about 3 times. I fought Chris Ryder twice. Back then he was something special. Never turned pro, don't know why. So I turned pro, and for me it was a bad decision at that time. I was juggling a lot of things, and I went to Charles. I signed on the wrong weight division. I had to pull like 7-8 Ks before the fight. I lost my first 2 pro fights. I fought Keith Bilolo. I knocked him down once in the round, and I won 3 rounds with that. I only lost the last round, and they gave a split decision to him. Nobody knows how this is even possible because it's a 4-round fight. Even him, he didn't know what's happening. I challenged him again. I clearly won the second fight. I've got footage of it everywhere, and they gave a split decision to him again. Then I fought that fight in Sebastian's school, and he said, "Hey, I don't know what the hell you're doing wrong, because that was a brilliant fight." And I got a huge contract with a billiards company, Joy China, and I had to make a decision. Obviously, I'm already really good in there. I already have a world title under me in that sport. And I said to him as well, "Look, I can help with the fighters and all that. I can do all my knowledge, do all the work that I can, because I'm a guy that likes to do a lot of research." And first he was a bit twitchy about it, and the second thing we kicked it off and we started working together. And now we back and forth changing videos and things, footage of footwork, and we try to build up a proper camp for our fighters, like really professional, because like I said, I come from a professional sports background. Now it's supposed to be, and we try to manage our fighters like that. They have schedules, they train really hard, we look out for their investors, and we give them guidelines in life as well. We even have mental sessions with them, that we do proper mental sessions. That's basically how we started growing a strong camp. When we just started kicking off, even Sebastian, he said, "Hey, I'm new in this. Yes, I've been in the fighting world, but I have nothing to do with coaching." I said to him, I receive a lot of mental coaching in my sport, so I can also take that to bring it to here. And I mean, I've worked with some of the best mental coaches around the world to get my sport in the next level. So we took a lot of that and put it into our boxes, and we can see a huge result already. And we know it's all about, for us, we need to do as much homework as possible for our fighters, because if we can stimulate them, they will start looking at different places. And I always say, if you don't get challenged, you're not at the right place. Yeah.
Sebastian always says you're his hidden weapon. You really help out behind the scenes. It's not a one-man team, but he's sort of in front of the camera, as he says. How do you see yourself in the relationship here?
I'm more like the quiet guy in the back. I don't care about taking credit on a photo or something like that. That's not for me. The boxers knows what I do. I know what I do. So I'm the guy, if a guy struggles with a bit of footwork or he can't get in an angle or can't throw a certain shot, I'll come in, I'll analyze him, I'll take footage of him, and immediately I can fix him. I know the body works. I've got a lot of degrees behind my belt. I'm also a dietitian. I can give them all the supplements or the right knowledge of food if they need that. Basically, I've been working so hard on myself as a boxer, because I need to be perfect, and that's my problem. I'm never satisfied. So I worked so hard on my boxing footwork and studied so much, like 3 hours to 4 hours a day studying, never mind just training, because I said I wanted to be the best. And for me, it was also hard changing that from a fighter. You want to be one of the best fighters, to going to a coach as young as I am. I made the decision and I said there's no in-betweens with it. I have to make this decision 100%, and that's what I did. And Sebastian knows exactly what we do, so he'll contact me, like I said, if there's any work on fighters. He knows I'll be the guy to solve it. I also have an identical twin brother. His knowledge in boxing is insane. So if I struggle, I'll ask him.
Okay.
The knowledge he knows is just unbelievable for his age as well. So anything I struggle with, I just contact him, send him footage, and the next day our fighter is solved.
Here's an interesting point, right? So can you be someone that hasn't stepped in the ring before, study the game like you do immensely? I know you've stepped in the ring before, but I'm saying for another, let's just take yourself out the equation. If it's just someone else, let's just say, okay, I can't say it's me, I've also done amateurs.
Yeah.
Let's just say it's someone else walking up the street. Can they start to study the game and become a really good coach?
Definitely think so, because some of your best coaches hasn't even touched there's so many tennis coaches that hasn't even touched the record. There's so many proper coaches that haven't done it and they've got the most success. Do you know why? For me, because they're not trying to make them the old fighter that they wanted to be. They actually checking their fighter, their style, and putting pluses on their style. They're not changing his style. You have to hold your hands like this, or you have to have a certain fight style. You can see that in a lot of old South African ways that I can immediately see which camp that fighter comes from, with little habits and things, or things they have to do. Sometimes they change a fighter so much he doesn't even know what they are anymore. And for me, the main thing is your natural ability always kicks in once the pressure hits high. So you keep your fighter as close to natural as possible. That's my opinion. So for me, guys that doesn't coach or no background knows that for a fact better than anyone else, because they study all type of styles, because they don't know what a style actually is. So they start getting all this info in, and they can put it better to the boxer without having that mindset, I used to be this fighter, I used to do this and that. They know it's all about the fighter. And I've seen a lot of ex-fighters becoming trainers struggle with that. They still want to be the alpha in the gym. It's so difficult for them to give it over to their boxer. So in that question, I really think in some cases it does. I mean, in golf, your caddies, some of the best caddies never played golf before, but they know so much. Yeah.
Well, one of the things as well that Sebastian mentions about you as well is, the whole, you spoke about it earlier, the mental side of things. Like boxing is usually just a tough man sport, but you don't have to be aggressive naturally. You can just be, you can think smart. How would you assess, let's take, for example, Jabulani McKenzie going into a fight. How do you help him out with regards?
Well, honestly, this fight, he just said, listen, Vince, I'm going to stop this guy immediately. I'm going to fight. I don't care, because I think in a way this guy got under his skin. And I said to Jobu, don't be careless. Obviously, we know that the guy doesn't have that much power, but if you want to stop him, you stop him, because that's your instinct. Always trust your instinct. I don't care if a trainer says do this, this, this. Your instinct is always right. If you start fighting your instinct, you start fighting yourself. And any sports person, you'll always see the top guys, they trust their instincts more than anything. And I said to him, if your instinct says you can finish this guy now, you do it. If you want to show you have the best jab in the world, that I think, we always have an argument before the fight, and we say, can you show you've got a better jab than Sebastian? Because he actually, for me, he's got one of the best jabs, but he doesn't have to do it because he's got so many tools. So with Jabu or Cohen example in his fight, we had a lot of mind plans, and we have a ring plan. Obviously, if you get hit, things changes, but we know, listen, you work the beginning, you work 2 times in the middle for about 10 to 12 seconds, and at the end you work, because that's how you convince the judges you are the best and you won. You can rest in that. You've got 1 minute work, 2 minutes rest. That's basically what we say to them, and then execute it when you have to. So for me, mental side and boxing, it's huge, because on a Wednesday and you're fighting on Saturday, it starts eating you. I think with this bubble, we also really got to know our fighters, because they're not alone in their house. We can actually see how they have to deal with things, and everybody's different. Like, some can't wait. They're so excited they can't wait. Other ones fear it to death, but they need to learn how to deal with it. So we do NPL training with them, get them the smell. We do sleeve training with them. If they struggle to be themselves, we create somebody else for them to be when they start fighting. All these type of techniques we use.
Have you ever been in a situation where you think, maybe this fight's going to be extremely hard, I don't know if we can win this fight? Have you been in a situation like that before, or is it usually plain sailing as you get in there?
No, we definitely been in the beginning like that, but we also knew if we win this fight, it's a big plus. Especially when we just started, that's about 4 or 5 years ago. It was difficult because we didn't have good guys at the moment, and you know what the problem is for me is our amateur gyms. It's so bad when the guy wants to turn pro. We had a few guys that's so good and they block the jab with the wrong hand. And I'm thinking to myself, all this work, this guy is an amateur champion. We need to take at least 2 or 3 years just to prepare this guy for proper fights. So I think that is our backstep and things as well when we started. Now we've got this camp for about 4 years running. So these guys knows the tricks ins and out, what you can do, what you can't do. Even the pads we do is a bit more reflex. I touch you here, you throw shots. It's not, I've tried to make the pads more like fight specific than actually just hitting pads. So we try to do all these things for our fighters, so that's why they're so good prepared these days than what we were in the beginning. Yeah.
All right, and just from our fans' point of view and our other trainers out there, what do you think, lastly, what do you think that there can be improvements on from other trainers? I'm not saying that anyone's perfect and you got the answer to everything, but in your opinion, what sort of goes wrong with some of the trainers in South Africa?
Yet again, I think they fit with, it's almost like a religion. A fighter has to fight this way, have to do these things, and they change so many things that actually makes him unique in a style. So if you can't keep your fighter at his natural style, his natural way of moving, it becomes really difficult. If it works, why change it? Rather make it better, add pluses to it. I also think in South Africa we need to take it more professional in training. It's difficult for us because we don't have full scholarships and sponsors. Like, you have to work a half-day job and box, and most of the trainers has to work a full-time job and train. So I understand he also has priorities, but if you want to make your fighter one of the best in the world, it's all about him. And I think a lot of trainers makes it more about them than actually their boxers. That's my opinion in South Africa.
Well, thanks for your opinions today. It's really been insightful, educational, and all the above. Vincent Halliday, thank you very much for joining us on SA Boxing Talk.
It's a pleasure. Thanks.